Hey, now, good people, what's up? This is the Full Coverage Football Show. My name is Jeremy. That's my tag team partner, Mr. Drew Ward. Brother, how you doing tonight?
I'm good, man. How's it going?
It is going. We got some fun football talk tonight. Basically, we're going to start with an amazing football weekend, a crazy, weird football weekend in some ways, and one of the best games we've probably seen in years with an amazing catch. We'll just start with that. But let's get going on Jeff's Saturday. Sundays are for Saturday. We weren't here last week, so we didn't get to talk about it. What did you think about Jeff Saturday becoming the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts?
Hopefully you can hear me better now. So yeah, it was surprising as many thought the same. I mean, many people were very, very critical of the hire in general. It's not normal that you just pull a guy from who works at ESPN who coaches high school football and make him a head coach. Do I sound okay, by the way?
You sound good.
Okay. Yeah, so it's hard for me to you just feel like as a kind of a person in coaching that he just kind of like just completely just passed all the shit that you have to kind of do to get up to be a head coach.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that he put Matt Ryan in was like, okay, Jeff Saturday, like, yes, like we've been talking about it, but listen, I'm bet he's like, listen, I'll take the job, but I'm putting Matt Ryan in, right? We're not paying Matt Ryan, not playing Matt Ryan. And they got a big win. But I mean, I could see why it's a questionable move from people outside looking in. But shit, man, they got a win. It was a big win. They're 4-5-1. They're not dead yet. So,
I mean, 13 seasons in the NFL, 4 All Pros, 5 Pro Bowls, Super Bowl champ. He does have head coaching experience. However, it is high school at Hebron Christian Academy from 2017 to 2020. Not your typical route. But like you said, he came in, seemed to get the team back on track. They looked well prepared on all 3 phases of football. And they beat Josh McDaniels, who has been the darling that everybody wanted. He was supposed to be the Colts head coach. This is the guy that everybody thinks is going to be a great head coach. And meanwhile, he lost to a head coach who was an analyst 3 days earlier, basically, 25-20. And now McDaniels has the playoff bound Raiders from last year at 2-7. But for Jeff Saturday, I mean, understandable why guys are ripping. I mean, Joe Thomas basically came out and said it was egregious, blah, blah, blah. Bill Cowher was spitting mad as usual. Basically, anyone involved with the Colts has stuck up for him, including Pat McAfee, who I love Patty Mac, but I feel like he's he calls Joe Thomas a puppet on this, but yeah, he might be too close. And Joe Thomas came out and said, hey, it's like Jim Irsay hired his drinking buddy, which is kind of what it comes down to. It's kind of weird. I understand he's been, part of the squad, somewhat helping out in the behind the scenes and all that. He's there, and he's a guy who can lead the room. We'll see what happens. Now, they beat the Raiders, and I'm pretty sure that you and I would have a fair shot with a full NFL coaching staff of beating the Raiders right now. That team is playing god-awful, and we'll talk about them in a little bit. But going forward, we saw them get a win. Everyone's excited. They were celebrating like they won the Super Bowl. And you said it. They put Matt Ryan in. They used Jonathan Taylor. I mean, this was stuff. Why were they not doing this before? And Sam Ehlinger, was this a decision that Ballard and Irsay forced upon Frank Reich? Or was Frank Reich like, hey, I wanted to bring in Matt Ryan, and now I'm just going to bench him randomly? This is all... There's something weird there for me.
It does seem weird. No, it definitely seems weird because originally it felt like it was coming from Ballard and Irsay, right? Mm-hmm. Like they were telling Frank Reich, here's what you're going to do. And, offset of topic, there's also financial compensation based off certain, things that he was going to, of course, receive at some point. But I think I think Jeff Saturday said, well, I'm playing Matt Ryan. I don't know how it's any other way, but because if you're Frank Reich and he knows who the better quarterback is, he knows his job was on thin ice, and he knows who gives him the best opportunity to win games. So for me, it doesn't make sense to think that he would bench Matt Ryan. I mean, I know Matt Ryan's not been great, but he was 3-3 when he got benched/hurt. And we've seen Sam Ehlinger be bad. So for me, I think it was probably from the front office, and I think one of the stipulations potentially for Jeff Saturday to take the job, he actually there probably wasn't. He was probably, you really want me to be the head coach?
I guess, yeah. Is this a real call?
Yeah, it's just like one of those Frank Yanker calls or whatever that show used to be.
Special ed called up
to
make the deal.
So for me, I think it's more of a front office thing, and because listen, when you're Frank Reich, you know that it's not like that job was not on thin ice. It just happened kind of the trigger was a little quicker than we thought.
And I think it's all because we had huge expectations for this team. I mean, going in, we expect them to run away with this division, and they've just been pathetic. Jonathan Taylor, who everyone was, that's our number one guy in fantasy. This is the best running back in the league. It's been MIA until this week. He had a really good game.
He's been hurt, and it's kind of like this carousel with Jonathan Taylor. Ankle, plays some games. Ankle, plays some games. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And it's like, and you put Sam Ehlinger in there, and it's like, dude, there's players in this league that they respect, and defenses respect what Matt Ryan brings. Now, I'm not saying Matt Ryan is 2016 Matt Ryan. I'm not saying that, or 2018 Matt Ryan. What I'm saying is Matt Ryan is still a serviceable quarterback. And for them to essentially bench him for a guy that's nowhere light years ready to play in this league, it's weird. It was just that's why it was embarrassing.
Sounds like what you're saying is that even Sam Ehlinger's mom wouldn't have started Sam Ehlinger.
Right? No,
the Colts.
No, and the players know that, dude. That's the thing with me. The players know the quarterback that gives them the best opportunity to win, and they know it's not Sam Ehlinger.
But their offensive coordinator said he looked fast in practice. That's why they ran a QB sweep game one. He looked fast compared to Matt Ryan. Of course he did. Matt Ryan's running with concrete shoes on. Let's move on to some. Well, hang on. I'm going to slow it down before we move on. They play the Eagles this week. Do you think it's back to reality for the Colts? Or do you expect them to come out and play well in all three phases again?
I expect them to play well.
Okay.
I do. I know that people could say, oh, it's the roo-rah, ha-rah week, new head coach coming in, ex-player. That's the thing. He's played the game. I'm sure he knows how to fire the guys up, but people worry about how long can we continue this. But let's not forget, there's a reason we thought the Colts were a good team.
Yeah.
And so I know it wasn't a win over a great team last week, but they're moving in the right direction. I'm very interested to see how they come out this week in Indianapolis against the Eagles.
Hey, if any team's shown that it's not easy to win in the NFL, it's the Las Vegas Raiders. Why can we never figure out where that team's located anymore?
I don't know. It'll probably take another year or so. It's because it's our whole lives they've been in Oakland.
Yep. Let's move on to what may have been the game of the year. A 33-30 victory by the Minnesota Vikings in Orchard Park over the Buffalo Bills. The Bills led this game at one point 27-10. Josh Allen collapsed down the stretch. 2 horrible red zone interceptions to Patrick Peterson. Justin Jefferson had people can think the OBJ catch is the greatest catch of all time. That was with no one near him. The Justin Jefferson catch, 4th and 18, in the fourth quarter on a drive they needed. Jumps up with one hand, pulls the ball out of the defender's hand. One hand. This man grabs it, pulls it back in.
We're talking 7.5, 8 feet from the ground.
Exactly.
One-handed, gets it all the way down to his body.
Kirk Cousins said, fuck it, he's out there somewhere. I am bombing it.
Hey, you
Jetta
live
reaches
and die
up,
by your best
pulls
player.
this down into his body, controls it as he hits the cold, frozen tundra of Orchard Park, and they get a first down. And it basically led them to what ended up the most insane ending. That drive ended up with 0 points. Kirk Cousins got stopped on a 4th down on a QB sneak. So the Bills take over. Botch snap. Covered by Eric Kendricks. All of a sudden, 30-27. The Vikings have the lead with 48 seconds left.
Insane.
Josh Allen, who's played terrible, leads the Bills down the field, and they get a field goal. But just bonkers. You go into overtime. Vikings take the lead. The Bills charge right down the field with a chance to kick a field goal to tie it or go in. And Josh Allen throws to Gabe Davis, who I guess it was for Gabe Davis, but Patrick Peterson was the only guy open there.
Patrick
What did
Peterson's
you-
also 100. He's
He
out
is.
there. He's out there. He was great on Sunday.
He was absolutely phenomenal, and everyone showed up for the Vikings. And halfway through that game, I sent you a text that I thought the Vikings offensive staff should be arrested for what they were doing, because they were not giving the ball to Dalvin Cook. They're like, okay, we'll give Dalvin one run, 81-yard touchdown, and then they're like, let's just keep having Kirk chuck it to the
Yeah.
point that it was basically, hey, I'm going to hope Justin gets open, and I'm just going to throw to spots, and he did. What did you think about this game overall?
I mean, it was insane. So for me, it was just like all I'll ever picture is that botched snap in the end zone because the game was over, right? The game was over. All they needed to essentially do was just get the ball a little bit out of that area, and the game was going to be over. And instead, you fumble, and it was so like those are fun teams. And I don't like the Vikings, and I feel like I've kind of said the Vikings may be a fraud. I still think they're okay. I mean, I think there's better teams, but man, that's a big time win. And you can say, "Oh, Josh Allen's banged up." I don't really want to hear it necessarily. Like, I get it. Everybody's kind of banged up. He wasn't very good.
Decisions.
They still can't run the football.
Mm-hmm.
They could bring in Jesus, and they couldn't run the football. Like that's
It's
worrisome in the playoffs.
Snow.
And it was like, oh, Christian McCaffrey come here, and it's like, or we trade for this guy, and it's like, dude, I'm not sure that anybody can run by the way that your offense plays. Everything is kind of they run through the pass, and he wasn't good. So, but overall, man, that catch by Justin Jefferson, that was silly. That was silly.
Absolutely insane. And you know what the crazy thing is? Before that, Stephon Diggs had a one-handed catch on an absolute bullet from Allen, where he just stuck his hand up and it hit his hand, and it looked like it just stuck to his hand. Josh Allen threw that ball so hard. And I'm like, that catch was sick. It was disgusting. And then we're forgetting about it because of how good Justin Jefferson's catch was.
Right.
But let me ask you, did the Bills lose this game or did the Vikings win this game?
Bills lost the game. You can't fumble in your own end zone late in the fourth quarter.
And you can't be up 27-10 if you're a Super Bowl contender and blow it.
Can't do it. Yep,
the way they lost that game was Brownsian or Lionsian.
It was. And they can't run, so they can't ice games as quickly as you want sometimes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if they could just run the ball at all, they could have ran that game down and iced it, but they just don't have that. They just don't have the capability to do it right now.
It's insane, and we've said it all year. It's gonna, like you mentioned already, it's gonna come up in the playoffs where they're gonna have to run the football, and they're gonna have to count on someone other than Josh Allen. And don't get me wrong,
dude,
Josh
they play in Buffalo.
Phenomenal.
They play in Buffalo. It's cold as shit. This is when real football starts. Is about right now.
Yep.
Okay, so that's the thing. It's great when everybody's fast and there's, you know what I mean, and you got all these weapons and you're throwing the football. But man, you better be able to run when the shit hits the fan. And it may this weekend.
They're talking 55 inches of snow. 2 to 4 feet plus more possibly for Sunday. And that game may get moved. We'll talk more about it later. Let's move on. Let's get back to Josh McDaniels here, because when we talk coaches on the hot seat, that's a guy who definitely deserves to be on the hot seat. However, reports have come out today that the reason he's not necessarily on the hot seat is because they don't have the money, allegedly, to buy him out, to basically pay off his contract with the amount of money they paid him. And whether that's true or not, I couldn't tell you. But to hear
they may have the money, but dude, they just hired him.
9 games in, 10 games in, whatever it is.
And he was and has been a coveted coach around the league in the Indianapolis debacle. And listen, every offseason we hear about teams that are interested in Josh McDaniels. Mm-hmm. Right. And it's just like, man, it's tough to fire a coach through 10 games. Because of, but it's not like it's guaranteed money to the idea of QB money. I don't know what his contract looks like, but man, how are you going to tell your fans that you're not going to fire a guy that deserves to be fired because you can't afford it after you just built a starship in Las Vegas?
This team,
that's a tough scene.
Rich Bisaccia took over this team, all sorts of turmoil, got this team into the playoffs. And then they're just like, Out the door, we want Josh McDaniels. We're going to bring in Devontae Adams. You got Devontae Adams. You got Hunter Renfrow. You've got Josh Jacobs, Darren Waller. Now, I understand these guys have been hurt, but there should be more out of this team. And what's sad is that Derek Carr, who is given blood, sweat, and tears to that organization, he's going to be the one who ends up taking the fall for this.
Yeah, he's going to fall on the sword. And it's not really.
It's going to suck. But, I mean, are we jumping on this too early that McDaniel should be on the hot seat? I mean, this is year one. Or
So
are we being fair?
See, they're not going to do it. They're not going to do that. And I get that. Like, listen, guys take over and have real bad records. And I know that they made the playoffs last year, but think of when the Lions, for example, they fired Caldwell. They were over 500, and then they immediately went into the deep darkness that we've been in ever since. So just because you're changing up doesn't mean it's going to be better. So I honestly don't know, man. I just don't. I'm interested to see how it plays out, honestly.
When McDaniels was hired in Denver, drafted Tim Tebow in the first round, started 6-0. Remember the big win over the Patriots. Pumping the fist. He was huge coming off field, pumping up the crowd, pumping the fist. Since that 6-0 start, he's 7-23 as a head coach.
So you're telling me he just needs to go grab Tebow?
Yeah. They won a playoff game.
Makes sense to me.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
You talked about bringing Jesus to Buffalo. I'm talking about bringing him to Las Vegas.
That's right. Because Las Vegas is a town that Jesus would certainly live.
They need Jesus in Vegas. Okay?
Yeah, they do need a lot of Jesus out there. You're right. Yeah, send them out there. Get them all in the book Sunday Bible school and shit. I guess Sundays they work, but
you work every minute of the day in Vegas if you want to. It's insane. Another coach on the hot seat, another guy in his first year. And you want to really give these guys, a chance, and maybe he deserves more of a shot than McDaniels does into next year. But this team, another team, this is the division we thought was going to be the best division in all of football. And Josh McDaniels and Nathaniel Hackett, who's the guy I'm talking about here, have led two of the most disappointing teams in the league. Now, Hackett's 3-6 with Russell Wilson, Broncos country. Let's ride. Russell Wilson-led team that's got all kinds of talent on both sides of the football, and they can't get out of their own way. And I don't know if it's Hackett or if it's Russ or what's going on in Denver, and does he deserve to be on the hot seat?
So this might sound weird, but I do believe – so the hot seat's, of course, fired at the end of the year. You're not going to fire a first-time head coach mid-year, in my opinion.
No. And if you were, you would have done it at the bye week.
But – to me, he's more deserving to be fired than Josh McDaniels. And the reason I say that, I feel like Josh McDaniels when he took this job, he was guaranteed more than a year. Now, does Josh McDaniels potentially deserve to be fired? Yes. But I think Josh McDaniels did what so many have done, a Patricia, really any spawn of Belichick. They come in and they immediately want to bring in New England guys, right? They want to bring in their own guys. And the thing is, that only works in New England, right? Everybody's tried it. It only works one place. And so it's I'm sure there's some of that, right? And it just doesn't seem to click. I don't know, man. I just think that McDaniels out of the two has the better shot to stay, because really with Denver, you look at them and they should, and you could say this with the Raiders too, but Denver was supposed to be way better. I mean, really, Russell Wilson sucks.
Russ, that interception he had to end the game, he basically spun around and just chucked it downfield.
He stinks, dude.
He's been awful. Meanwhile, Geno Smith in Seattle is like, hey, forget about him. You got me now, baby.
Geno Smith's better than Russ. Hands down.
It's insane.
Geno Smith's way better than Russ.
Geno Smith didn't get a $245 million contract.
It sure didn't.
Whew. Now, outside of those two, who are probably the most on the hot seat, and Matt Rule's already been fired, so he's thankfully out of this conversation. What are some other coaches, or who are they that you think should be on the hot seat right now?
I mean, you go down to Lovey. I mean, the Texans, so that's the thing. The Texans stink. But the Texans were always going to stink.
Mm-hmm.
The roster stinks. You can't fire that head coach, right? You can't do that.
Do they do this? Did they bring Lovey in just to give them another year to eventually move into the Josh McCown era, which is what they've seemed to want to do for 3 years?
I would think so, because hiring Lovey from Illinois, he was terrible there. He's been kind of terrible kind of everywhere outside of the early Bears days. But the one that's interesting is Brandon Staley, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the most interesting one to me. Because other guys, it's like, who are you gonna fire, right? Who's gonna be fired? I don't see a lot of coaches being fired. I think there's a lot of mediocre football teams, but I think a lot of those mediocre football teams are either have a new head coach or are a complete rebuild, and it's a first. In my opinion, I don't know. Like, look around the league. We talk about
Dennis
the Raiders.
Allen? Another first-year head coach, but he's a retread head coach. They're 3-6, and he continues to start Andy Dalton for some reason.
Yeah, so for me, man, I'm just, again, I'm against the firing a head coach after 1 year. I'm against.
And I'm with you.
I don't care if they have a plan. Like, I hate the retread shit. It's like, oh, we're firing another guy. Oh, we're hiring another guy. Oh, this guy wants to. We're gonna build this fucking culture, and it's like, what? Shut up. Shut up.
Can't build
like,
culture
the next guy comes in
6 months.
Yeah, the next guy comes in. We're this culture. We're gonna build. We're gonna be the best team. It's like you've sucked for 35 years. Like what? Can we bring in like somebody else? Can we bring in
Dan Campbell?
We'll see. The hot seat? We'll see. No, I don't think he's on the hot seat at all.
Good.
I know he's not.
About Kevin Stefanski?
That's not fair, because Kevin Stefanski hasn't had Deshaun Watson, and he's not going to be. He's also not going to be in the hot seat even if Deshaun Watson plays like shit at the end of the year. He'll have another 100%. Year.
All the Browns fans, listen. He's not a Browns fan. Obviously, he's wearing a Lions hoodie. He's not a Browns fan. Same shit I've been telling you. You don't bring in Deshaun Watson after the guy sits in a lawyer's office for 45 minutes to get him to come there. Obviously, the money was a big part of it, but he was getting paid anywhere. And then give him 6 games to work with a guy and then fire him. First off, Browns fans, you thought your team was way better than it was.
No, so listen, Jacoby. So here's the problem. Yes, they completely thought that. Jacoby Brissett's been awesome.
Yeah.
If you're like, if you're sitting there on Sundays and you're like bitching about Jacoby Brissett, it's like, dude, he's not like the guy. Like, what Jacoby Brissett's done has been like a top 20 quarterback in the league, and you could say top 15. Like, Jacoby Brissett's been great, and you're not winning 10. Like, and you had a cupcake schedule to start the year, and you blew games, and that's the meat and potatoes of it.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't expect to give away all these assets, which you're not going to really obtain more assets in the offseason. You know that you're going to let this guy ride it out for at least a half a season if he's terrible, or at least another season with Kevin Stefanski. And you can also argue the way he's ran his offense this year is almost like having the offense ready for what Deshaun Watson's going to want to do, in my opinion. Because Jacoby Brissett has really had an open playbook, in my opinion, when I watch them. They're not running real exotic stuff, but they like to throw it around a little bit. And I think that this, instead of just running the ball every time, I think the Browns know this year is not going to be the year where they're going to do anything. It's just kind of like the get this bullshit out of the way, hit pause, start next season, and see where we're at. That's the way I look at the Browns.
You're 100% right. As much as we would love to run the football all the time because you have Kareem Hunt and you have Nick Chubb, when you're facing 8 men in the box constantly, you're not running the ball anywhere. You have to pass. And the Browns' offense somehow is ranked 4th in the league in efficiency. What Kevin Stefanski's done with the offense is incredible. Maybe he's just a really good offensive coordinator and offensive mind and not a great leader. That's yet to be found out. However, he gets
just
at least,
the Browns
like you
fans
said,
that are like, "Oh, run Chubb, run Chubb, run Chubb." It's like, dude, their offense is good. Their offense is moving the football. Mark Cooper's a really nice player, and Njoku's been great. Donovan Peoples-Jones had a wonderful game last Sunday.
Mm-hmm. He's on pace for 1,000 yards.
Yeah, and it's like, dude, you have Jacoby Brissett. Like, Kevin Stefanski's done a wonderful job with Jacoby Brissett. And everybody was cool with it at the beginning. You're like, yeah, we're not going to win this year. But now that when they don't really win, they're like, what the fuck, Jacoby Brissett? It's like, This was kind of the plan, right?
And what's even exactly? You have 2 more games before Deshaun comes back. If you can get to 5-6, you give yourself a chance. You blew the games early. Now you got to work up for it. Maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. But this is big, especially coming from you. You've ripped Stefanski more than anyone.
Well, I
On
have,
this show,
but
obviously, because I've been a big Stefanski backer. But you're seeing it clearly, which is phenomenal to hear. Because
you and I are kind of on the same page because we've dealt with a lot of turnover.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you can't just you can't just fire a guy after a year or maybe even 2 years if he's like it. Everybody that comes in has an ego and wants to get their own guys and build their own culture, and it's literally a cesspool, and it just takes your team down and down and down. And you're like, oh, I want to get the right coach, but it's like you don't let the thing play out.
Mm-hmm.
If the thing plays out, it's a 3-year thing for me. I think in year 3 it needs to be better. Now I know Nathaniel Hackett's been terrible, and I know we're on this topic for way too long, but like I need to see more. Because we can't just take guys and turn them over and trade guys. Like Darius Slay was fucking traded. I watch Darius Slay every week and I'm like, that guy's awesome. And he was traded for no reason. And do you think that this regime would have, they would have loved Darius Slay. But it's like, it's the turnover. It's the new it changes everything and it's a waste. You need to let it play out unless it's a complete, utter disaster where you think the team's lost the locker room. Then you blow it up and you move on immediately.
My theory is, and the Nathaniel Hackett thing may be different case because it looks like he has no clue what he's doing there.
Correct.
And
I agree with that.
They look miserable. Josh McDaniels, I can't stand him. I think he's overrated. I always have.
But he knows what he's doing.
But it seems like
it's just not good.
At times they seem like they've got it going where they've only been down, basically they've lost 1-score games multiple times. They've been in some games.
Haven't even won on the road. Not one road win.
For me, with the Stefanski situation, maybe even with the Dan Campbell situation, it's not time to get rid of the head guy. Maybe it's time he lets loose on some coordinators, some other guys who have failed him. For the Browns, Mike Prefer and Joe Woods have been awful coordinators this year. Can't do anything with them. Maybe it's time you move on from them. If it doesn't work out with new coordinators, then you look at the head guy, then you blow it up. Maybe the same thing happens with Detroit. Aaron Glenn, both of us coming into the last year or this season thought Aaron Glenn was going to be a great defense coordinator. You didn't want him to go to New Orleans. Yeah. I was with you. I didn't want him to leave your team either. I thought he was going to be pretty good. Give him another year, and it hasn't worked out. But for these teams, that's where it ends up. Now, there's one more guy I want to talk about before we move on. Mike McCarthy in Dallas. They are 6-3 now after losing to the Green Bay Packers. They face the Minnesota Vikings this week, drops them to 6-4. If they keep falling down, they finish around 500. Maybe they make the playoffs. Maybe they barely miss out. Is that a guy who could be on the hot seat at the end of the year?
That one's tough. Because I think Dak kind of stinks. Ever since the injury. I think Dak kind of stinks. I thought McCarthy showed his wit with Cooper Rush in action for that amount of time. I thought that they played really good football. And I don't think so, man. I mean, but it's concerning. I think like the end of this season is going to kind of tell you like what Dak is, right? If you're the Cowboys. And it's dangerous, man, because everybody thought it was this guy and he got hurt and he was great before he got hurt. Mm-hmm. But he's just not. I watch him and it's just not the same. Like they're not, that offense isn't the same. I don't know. Maybe you can argue it's Mike McCarthy, but it seems deeper than that to me.
It is, but the reason I ask this is because we know how much Kellen Moore means to Jerry Jones, apparently. Is this a situation where to not lose Kellen Moore, Mike McCarthy doesn't seem to be getting the job done. He makes sure Kellen Moore stays, similar to what he did with Jason Garrett.
I don't know, man.
I'm with you.
It's possible. It's a Jerry will do some wild shit.
Jerry's world, baby. He's going to do what he wants. Let's move on. QBs, who should start? Now, we know who's going to start for the Washington Commanders, and I don't know about you, but for me, it was clear that it should have been Taylor Heinicke all the way.
100%. 100%.
There's no reason Carson Wentz should start another game for that franchise.
Dude, just watching that team, and for whatever reason, I've had to watch a lot of Commanders football. I don't know why.
Have they been prime time a lot, or what is it? Because I feel like I see them every week too. I feel like
I
I'm
don't
watching more of my
know,
team.
man. It's like I've seen them like 3 times more than I wanted to, but they're just a different offense. And I'm not saying Taylor Heinicke is great, but like you get a guy like Terry McLaurin's finally involved in the offense. They're moving the football. They have more of those explosive 20+ yard plays. And I think that he just gives them a better chance to win. And listen, they're 5-5, and we're really early in the season. We still got 7 games left.
Yep.
8 games left. And so there's some teams that are gonna rise from the ashes. And they get Chase Young back. Could be something brewing there.
100%. And Taylor Heinicke, they beat the Eagles on Monday Night Football, knocked off the undefeated team. He didn't throw a touchdown pass. Yet I felt like every time they had the ball, he was doing something to help his team. And yes, he won the game for them basically by sliding down and sitting there and then Brandon Graham running into him. But it's just he's smart with the ball. And you know he's gonna throw a stupid interception at some point. He's going to trust his arm more than he should, and a couple balls he threw should have been picked off, but every quarterback does that. What the biggest thing is his team believes in him. This team plays different with him than it did with Carson Wentz.
I agree.
And now, for the other team, on who should they start, we know that they're going to start Andy Dalton this week. Should Andy Dalton continue to be the quarterback in New Orleans?
Absolutely not. Famous Jameis.
What are you doing with Andy Dalton? He's a 35-year-old quarterback. You know what he is.
I mean, it's tough because that's a roster that can win football games.
It is.
We know it. We know that defense is good, and for them to have 3 wins, you're 3-7. We know Andy Dalton. Listen, we kind of know what Jameis is, but Jameis actually can move the ball down the field. Jameis can get guys involved. Jameis is going to make mistakes. But he gives the team a better chance to win. He does. He just does. And I know he wasn't great to start the year, but he just does.
I said at least, I know that maybe this is better with Andy Dalton earlier. But it was when Andy Dalton was the guy who wasn't going to turn the ball over. Now Andy Dalton just looks lost. He's throwing the ball all over the field. He's not getting the team in the right spots a lot of times. He blew the game for them in Arizona. Arizona should never won that game, but Andy Dalton threw 2 easy picks to end a half and completely change the face of that game. But yeah, I'm with you. It should be Taylor Heinicke. It should be Jameis Winston. No doubt about it. At least one of the coaches got it right. Way to go, Riverboat Ron. Hey, the Packers won this week. They beat Mike McCarthy's Green Bay Packers, or they beat Mike McCarthy's return to Green Bay as the Cowboys head coach.
Yeah.
That was really hard for me to get out for some reason.
It was difficult. But you
wait, who does he coach for again? What is he doing? I don't know who he coached for in overtime, but the Packers beat the Cowboys 31-28 in overtime. Are the Packers back, or is this just a lucky win?
They were way better. Again, it's tough. So Christian Watson, of course, had a big game. He's only had 5 catches, significant amount of targets,
3 tutties.
Yeah, it's tough though because it's we can't just rein in Christian Watson being the guy that Aaron Rodgers is going to want to go to, and that team still has a lot of flaws. And I do think Derrick Henry will be able to run well against them, but I do think the Packers have enough to win and playing Tennessee back at home. That was a big win for them because I still think of course they're going to win this division. Maybe not, actually. With the Vikings, maybe not. I might retract that.
You never know, but the Pack, they played a better game. They looked like they had an idea of, we're not going to let Aaron throw it all over the place. 10 passes going into the fourth quarter. He threw 3 touchdowns. So, for you, exactly. I'm with you. Christian Watson, probably not going to have that same output. But, maybe the Packers are back. They know they got 2 good running backs, one way better than the other. But let's move on. Segue into Thursday night's game. It's Packers. It's Titans. Let's talk about DraftKings DFS Thursday. The last 2 times we've done a lineup, we've cashed in. Drew, who do you like in this? Are you going to fade Christian Watson? Are you going to think Christian Watson can have another great game? Who do you like? Who's your guy? Who's your captain this week?
Oh no, we're fading Christian Watson for sure.
Okay. I'm with you on that. I actually have it written down here, fade Watson.
It's
We
Aaron
agree.
Jones. Aaron Jones is captain for me.
Okay.
I don't know. Let's hash it out real quick. Would you rather put Alan Lazard or Aaron Jones at captain? And I'll let you take this one.
I think Aaron Jones belongs in the captain spot because I feel like I know I'm going to get something out of him, whereas Alan Lazard has disappeared at big moments all season long so far.
All right, it's your pick, brother.
Pull it up. I don't even have the lineup up. I'm trash over here. Let's go with let's go Aaron Jones. You got to go Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry's got to be the next guy up.
All right.
We're taking big chunks out of our salary cap here.
We're eating right now.
Do you feel anything like? Do you feel like Ryan Tannehill's going to put up decent numbers?
Not particularly.
No. Aaron Rodgers hasn't shown anything, so I think you have to go with the running backs here. Then after that, it's really, it might be slim pickings. Do we think Westbrook-Akine is going to do anything like what he did last week?
He was good last week.
He was. Robert Woods, who somehow is at 6,800, 600 more than Westbrook-Akine, he's been a missing person.
Hey, is this Jay Chestnut for 200? Is that Joey Chestnut?
It is Joey Chestnut, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he's going to eat. You know he's going to eat.
All right. Let's grab our kicker here.
We got Josh Lambo in for the Titans this week. Is he available? Yes, he is.
You want to go with Mason Crosby or?
Yeah, let's double kicker. Both?
All right,
we'll do double kicker.
We do love it. We do love a double. It allows us to be normal humans. How is Bobby Trees so expensive? Get him out.
I don't know. That's what I don't understand. And
like what? Where he's been terrible.
He has been. He's been a missing person. So now do you go AJ Dillon? Where are we looking here? This is a weird game as far as. Do you think Robert Tonyan, who leads the Green Bay Packers in catches, he's at 5,800. Do we look that route?
So, here's my opinion on the last two.
Sure.
And you tell me if you disagree. I think you take Westbrook, Kenny, and then I think you circle back around and take big Robert Tonyan.
I like that. And that leaves you $1,400 to mess around with if you don't like one of our picks. So we're going Aaron Jones at captain. We're doing two kickers. We're taking Derrick Henry, Robert Tonyan, and Westbrook-Akine. I'm in with that.
I love it.
So I will save that lineup in there. I think
Before
that's a solid lineup.
Picks. Let me just I'm going to just shut this light off over here.
You go do you.
All right, thanks.
So you look at what we did there. We've cashed in our last two lineups on the show. Remember, if you want to look up for Bottom of the Barrel, guys, always check out our boy Detroit Beastie on Twitter, at Detroit Beastie. Check out Bottom of the Barrel. These are the games we go with. We like the five guys. We like the captain. It always works out. Now, as we move on here, that's going to be a solid game. I think it could be a decent game on a Thursday night, but it's definitely not the game of the week. The game of the week this week, for us at least, is the 6-3 Cowboys, led by Mike McCarthy, Dak Prescott, who we don't know what they're doing on offense, but they seem to do things. Maybe they get Zeke back. Maybe they don't. They're traveling to Skull. The Vikings, 8-1, coming off that big win or big gimme gift from the Buffalo Bills. They're the best team in the NFC, record-wise, tied now with the Philadelphia Eagles. This game, 4:25 kickoff. It's going to be on your local Fox station. Drew, what do you think about this game?
It's going to be interesting. I think Zeke's going to be back. This going back to Minnesota is going to be a big deal for me. I just think Dak hasn't been right, and the Vikings are kind of on a heater right now, and I think that Kirk Cousins playing well. It's not prime time. We love that it's not prime time. I like the Vikings here, man. Justin Jefferson is awesome, and he's probably the most unguardable wide receiver in football right now. Would you agree with that?
100%. 10 catches, 193 yards against what may be the best defense in the league in that game. Just absolute sick. And
He's awesome.
Cousins just throws the ball to spots and he makes plays.
He's there, and he doesn't drop balls.
And Cowboys coming in, they're going to be able to get to Kirk Cousins. However, what they showed last week and what the Packers really did to them is show that they cannot stop the run. They struggle against the run. It takes Micah out of the game. He's not able to line up on the edge and just come at your quarterback. He's got to play off the ball. It changes things for that defense. So you've got Dalvin Cook. You've got Alexander Madison. You've got a team that can run the football. The Vikings need to establish the run early and often if they want to win this game. If this becomes a game where Kirk has to throw, it's not going to work out well for him. And I think the Cowboys can win. But for me, I do like the Vikings in this game. I like them at home. I like the way they're playing. You said it, they're on a heater. That team is having fun. That's a big thing for them, too. When they win, they're having fun. They're getting the ice all around Patrick Peterson and his 80-year-old ass. They're throwing it on Kirk, making him look like the goofiest white dude ever. But they're having a good time. They're winning together. And Kevin O'Connell's done an excellent job as a first-year head coach, coming in there basically saying, hey, we know what Mike Zimmer did on the defense. We know the issues they've had on offense where Mike Zimmer's kind of held them back. He's letting these guys loose and letting them be who they are. Guys like KJ Osborne are having solid years. Thielen is just there. He's doing what he needs to do underneath. He's not anything special this year, but now you've brought in Hawkinson, who's been a really good blocking tight end for them. And he got 9 targets his first week or 10 targets his first week. Not as many last week.
He's a good player. He's a solid player. Nice addition with Irv Smith being out,
And now you've got Justin Jefferson. You're going to throw the ball. But for me, it's got to be with the running game. I like the Vikes in this game, too. And I think this should be probably our best game of the week.
I think so, too. Now
we get in our game picks, 66 and 38 for both of us.
We've been way better. Remember when we started out the season? We were like 500.
Yeah, we started out really bad. We've picked it up. We're not going to pick the entire NFL schedule. We're going to pick a few games here we selected. Plus, we're going to pick some Pac-12 After Dark action for the ladies. Now, I don't think the ladies really care about Pac-12 After Dark. But we got a 10:30 kickoff game on a Saturday night that we're picking here.
Yeah, I'll be up for that one. Fired up, ready to go.
Somehow I'll wake up at the end of it and it's going to be a blowout in one of these games.
That's actually like an art to be able to like wake up right at the end of games. It's actually special.
I did it for the whole Cavs West Coast swing, where I'd fall asleep, they'd be up by 20, and I'd wake up and they'd be down 2 at the end of the game and just dribbling the ball. Like
Pistons are on that West Coast swing tomorrow.
That's a rough one, man.
So I'll probably not see it at all. But
speaking of the Pistons here, let's go off subject here. We haven't done it in a little bit. What's going on with Cade? He healthy or not? Because I haven't.
Well, he's a little tweak. You can kind of tell the last game he played. I mean, he was terrible, and he's been good all year. He was terrible. I think he shot 1 for 11.
Okay.
So they just put him on the shelf for 4 games. So we'll be back in a couple days.
Some load management, as they call it in the NBA these days.
It kind of felt a little bit like that. It's allowed Jaden Ivey to kind of get loose a little bit, which has been nice. But they got to figure they're just not very good right now. So they should probably try to start winning some more games. That would be like my advice to them. Just try to win some more games. Score a little bit more.
A lot of young talent who really, I think maybe later on in the season they're going to figure things out and it's going to.
Yeah, Dwayne Casey might be on his way out the door too.
It might.
At some point.
I mean, he didn't beat the Raptors, and he's been great against the Raptors as a Pistons head coach, at least covering the spread.
Yep, I agree.
Speaking of basketball, Cavs are down 61-60 to the Bucks at halftime, and
Cavs are a good team. Cavs have started out the season really nicely. I don't know if they're a contender.
Jumped off
as far as like a being able to win the NBA championship.
I think they're a year away.
They might be, but it's been a wonderful start for them. Although they've been kind of on a little slide here recently, if I'm not mistaken.
They're a young, fun team. No, they're on a 4-game losing streak after an 8-game winning streak.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of just a streaky team. I mean, Darius Garland went for 51 on Sunday night, but this team will only be a complete contender once Evan Mobley becomes the best player on that team. And Evan Mobley apparently had a sick dunk on Giannis. Let's get back to football here. Titans at Packers. Who you like?
Give me the Packers.
I'm going to take the Titans.
I love
Why?
that.
Couldn't tell you. I have no idea on that pick.
Yeah, I can't
Browns
remember
at
that either.
Bills, which if it's in Buffalo, will be in between 2 to 4 feet of snow. However, this game could get moved. There will be talk. I think by Friday they'll make the decision. Where it could be in Drew's Detroit City.
Yeah.
And then
Hey, it's beautiful indoors, 72 degrees. Go ahead and enjoy yourself.
And if
It's
that's the
actually
case,
wonderful to root for a team and go to games with the team that is indoors.
Yeah. Dude, Browns, build a dome.
But you
I
gotta
know
build
people are like, no, Browns football outside. Bro, I went to a game in December last year. It wasn't even that cold. It was 40 degrees, but that wind off the lake, dude, my nuts
Miserable
crawled
time.
inside of me.
Miserable
It's
time.
ridiculous. It's not fun.
You could have been sitting on your couch watching it on 85 inches with a yellow line for a first down marker.
Yep. Instead, I had to figure out what Baker Mayfield was doing.
So in this one, I'm gonna put a question. So
We're gonna asterisk
game's
this one?
Buffalo. Give me the Browns. Give me the Browns if it's in Buffalo. If it's out of Buffalo, give me the Bills.
I feel the exact same way.
Yeah.
I can't argue that. Because if you're running the football, Browns can run the football, Bills. I mean, Josh Allen is going to do some things because the Browns defense can't figure out what the hell they are. They want to talk and do nothing else. But yeah, that's how I feel. So we're just going to put Bills, maybe Browns, maybe on here. So that's how we'll do that. Next game, the Jets at the Patriots. Now, this is AFC East where every team is in the playoffs, just like the NFC East, which is insane. All 4 teams in the division in the playoffs. The Jets struggle with the Patriots. And Zach Wilson, last time he played the Patriots, was god-awful. He's going now to New England, to Gillette. What do you expect from the Jets here? What do you think we're going to get to see from Robert Saleh, the Jets? That defense looks good, but what is the offense going to do? Is this going to be a Jets win or the Patriots win this one?
It's tough, man, because like for me, they have to be better. Thank you so much. They have to be better offensively, and they just haven't been, right? And we know the Breece Hall injury is pretty devastating to what that offense does.
Yeah.
And so with Michael Carter, they have to be able to run the ball because I don't think Zach Wilson, I don't know about you, I don't think Zach Wilson's very good, dude.
He hasn't been.
I just don't think he's very good. So for me, I'm taking the Patriots. The Jets are a nice story. They're 6-3. They're 4-0 on the road, which is kind of impressive.
Browns helped with that.
But you don't necessarily go on the road in New England and win. And again, I think that Bill Belichick has Zach Wilson's number. I could see a couple picks in this game from Zach Wilson, maybe even the trifecta piece.
That defense has been phenomenal. Robert Saleh's got that defense playing where they may not be a top 3, but they're a top 6 defense in the league right now. They've got a ton of talent over there. The Williams brothers, Sauce. I mean,
Sauce
playing like the best corner in the entire league.
Yeah, he's been good.
They've got a ton of talent on that defense. And I think what they really need to do is get Zach Wilson, maybe tranquilize him a little bit before the game, calm his ass down and tell him all we need you to do is manage the game. That's it. Don't make stupid plays. He ends up with massive
what I
numbers.
call happy feet.
Yeah.
It's the way I would describe Zach Wilson. It's happy feet. And to me, I don't know what it means to you, but to me is the minute that there's issues in the pocket, he tries to get out of it. Mm-hmm. So instead of guys that step up in the pocket or guys that can feel themselves throughout the pocket, Zach Wilson doesn't have the awareness. He gets happy feet and he tries to do so much. And then he throws across his body 80 yards to fucking Sarah in the third row. And it's just like, it's not great. And it's just like, he hasn't gotten any better. His decision-making hasn't gotten any better at all.
No. And for them to win, they need him to do that. He has happy feet. And having happy feet and getting out of the pocket and throwing the ball out of bounds, we can live with that. Live to play another down. He needs to do that. If he does that, they win this game. And I'm going to take them to win this game because I think that defense can step up because I don't know what the Patriots offense is. They've been up and down all year. They don't even know. 1 second we're hearing Bailey Zappi's the guy. but then he's not, and then he comes in 2 series later. So they don't know. Mac Jones is the quarterback for that team. They should win this game, but I'm going to take the Jets for the hell of it. Lions at Giants, a 7-2 New York Football Giants welcome in the Detroit Lions on a 2-game winning streak. Lions move it to 3.
I will take the Lions in this game. I've kind of thought that the Giants have somewhat been a fraud, in my opinion. Offense is just Saquon Barkley's been great. The Lions' defense has been better the last 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I think offensively they're going to be able to move the ball. I will take the Lions. I don't feel great about it, but the Giants also face like the toughest schedule down the stretch. And so do you think they're a 7-2 team? I mean, I know that their record says they're 7-2, but it doesn't feel like a 7-2 team to me.
I think they're a 7-2 team based on the fact that they've played a fairly easy schedule for the most part, but they've managed to pull the game off at the end. They're managing not to lose games. It's not that they're winning them necessarily, because you look at the team and you're like, they're not really they're not losing the games. They're not giving it up at the end. They're a team they're coached well enough to not fuck up at the end and blow it, which is something my team can't do for shit. And they're not losing games. That's a big thing. But I think as the schedule gets a little harder down the stretch, as things tighten up, maybe the pressure comes, I think they'll falter. I still think they can win 10 games, which isn't saying much considering they're 7-2. I'm going to take them this week, but I think this is a tighter game than maybe the records say it should be. I think these teams are more closely linked in talent than what their records say they are. It's just I feel like your team hasn't learned to win the games, and they're giving games away on stupid plays like mine does. Where this team,
True,
Brian Daboll has coached them up enough in the key and crucial situations to get them wins. So with that being said, I'm going to take the Giants, but I think this is going to be a really fun, close game. Now, the game of the week, what should have been the game of the week? Raiders at Broncos. Someone needs to win this game, so expect a 3-3 tie. Who do you like and why?
I like the Raiders, and why is because the Broncos' offense is just terrible. They stink, dude. Judy's hurt. Sutton is like a high-touted wide receiver that looks like he's running in sand. Like it's not ideal out there, man.
Cortland Sutton had a great rookie season, if I remember correctly. I know he's been injured.
He did. But it looks like he's like running in slow motion compared to the other guys, man. I don't know.
I'm going to take the Broncos just because you took the Raiders. That's why.
Because fair. Great. That's the analysis we're looking for.
It's a coin flip, man. Like
it is.
This could be the most fun game of the weekend somehow, and it could be just the game that puts football back 86 years.
I'm trying to trade Ross right now.
Yeah, how's that working out?
I was told I would know in the morning.
Okay. I like that. What's your deal you're working here?
So Ross, Gallup, a second, a fourth for Tua.
Okay. Let me ask you something.
I feel like it's fair because the second, you know how my league is. So a second is a sixth, and a fourth is a 10th rounder. So like I'm not overly concerned about the picks, but
I mean that second still a second because it's all those rookies coming in. We got a pretty solid rookie class coming in. I mean, this is a league where Trey Lance went number 1, and now he's sitting there on the waiver wire, which I was surprised that he got dropped after he was taken number 1 and didn't get IR'd. But I mean, anything can happen. Now that second, I like that. That's a fair deal for you based on what they're doing this year. But could you have imagined week 1 trading Russ along with picks for Tua Tagovailoa?
No, but my team's been good enough to be a playoff team as of right now. And I just know I'm not going to be able to win with Russ. Because he's still 5 touchdowns short of how many bathrooms he has in his house. And that's not good.
There. We just want him there by the end of the year. Okay.
No, we don't, dude. We want him to blow that shit. If I have to keep him, I want him to blow that shit out next week. 5 fucking touchdowns this week.
I like that move to stay that you know what you got. See, you're smart like that. That's what more GMs need to do. I like that. I was going to ask you another question.
I know I can't win shit. I'll get blown out if I don't have a quarterback.
but I have no idea where I was going with that anymore.
Yeah,
Chiefs
darn.
at Chargers.
Give me the Chiefs, man. This is tough. Keenan Allen's supposed to play, but it's like my guy Justin Herbert. Like everybody's shitting on Justin Herbert. He's out there playing with bums. I mean,
And
no
torn rib
disrespect to
cartilage.
Josh Palmer
DeAndre Carter.
or DeAndre Carter, but like, come on, guys, let's be serious now. What are we doing here? It's been tough, man. So getting Keenan Allen back will be great, but I still like the Chiefs.
I'm going to take the Chiefs as well. Niners at Cardinals, I believe, in Mexico City on Monday Night Football.
Everybody comes home safe. Yeah, give me the Niners. Again, I think Kyle Murray kind of stinks.
Hey, do you know why he was? You know why he was really out last week? Calluses on his thumbs. New Call of Duty came out, playing that all night. Calluses on the thumbs, kept ripping them open. No, I'm not gonna use that same old joke that probably everyone's already said at some point. Kyler Murray has not been good. No, he is not. And this team, where I said on this show, 2 or 3 weeks ago, Benjamin was their best running back, because I think we kind of know what James Conner is, and he's just kind of a dude, and he can find the end zone when you're really close. He's not going to break anything off.
Spread on this game, though, dude. So I guess it's a neutral site. They have Niners -8. Doesn't that seem like a lot of points?
I just think they know the Cardinals are that bad, but I'm going to take the Cardinals on that, because I think at the end of the day, it's a 6-point game.
I'll just spread. I like the Cardinals, but
yeah,
I'll take the Niners.
Niners definitely. But this team released Benjamin yesterday, made no sense. But I don't know what the Cardinals.
Cliff Kingsbury's kind of stinks. Kyler Murray kind of stinks.
How did we had the hot seat, and I didn't mention Cliff. Cliff should be on the hot seat. Don't you agree?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Kyler too.
And they gave Kyler a lot of money this offseason. We'll see what happens. Now we're moving into college. Number 7 USC 9-1 at UCLA, 8-2 on the year. They're 16th ranked team. That's an 8 p.m. kickoff. Who you like?
I was Pac-12. I'll give me USC. Caleb Williams has been good.
He has been.
I think the move over to USC. I mean, let's be honest. How fortunate is USC to be able to bring a head coach that brings players with him immediately, right? And that's kind of been the reason that they've been so successful. So give me USC.
No, I'm going to take USC as well. But hey, Chip Kelly getting UCLA to bounce back. Chip's kind of quietly building a solid program there. Let's see if he stays this time and continues to build the program rather than
Kelly blows, dude.
Dip out. Hey,
finally, I actually UCLA forgot Chip Kelly was the head coach at UCLA. I really did. Just fucking Chip Kelly.
It's because it's Pac-12 After Dark, baby. It's past your bedtime. Continuing on at Pac-12 After Dark, the 10:30
I've seen
kickoff.
0 Pac-12 games. I'm sure they're nice.
Number 10 Utah 8-2 at number 12 Oregon, led by Drew's favorite quarterback and the guy whose jersey he'll be wearing next year on the show, Mr. Bo Nix.
That's mean. That's fucking downright mean what you just said. Give me Utah. Give me the Utes. Give me.
I will take Oregon. That is our game picks, and we're not even going to go any deeper. Those are the two college games that are, just top 25 matchups. We're not talking about the college football playoff at this point, because it's the same as last week. And we know that 2 and 3 will change once next week comes. Let's get into Ward's wagers here. Let me see if I can find the right clicking button here. There we go. There, scrolling across your screen on the bottom. Ward's wagers 43, 23, and 2 last season, 115, 66, and 4 over the past 3 seasons, 2 and 2 last week, 13 and 11 in 2022, just like with our game picks. Started slow, picking it back up. What do you got for us this week, bud?
I'm actually going to take the Bears on the road in Atlanta +3. Bears getting points against Marcus Mariota, Justin Fields. Now, can't really throw it great, right? Let's pump the brakes on Justin Fields is awesome and stuff, but lots of rushing yards, right? And it's great and everything, but I'm going to take them, but we need to all slow down Justin Fields.
Outside of Cole Kmet, has anyone really shown you that they're worth throwing the ball to or getting open? I saw it looked like Jeff Okuda was a blanket over every receiver he was near on the little pieces I saw of Bears Lions last week. Was that
That's 'cause
Okuda was that good?
Jeff Okuda's the best fucking corner in the league. Absolutely. Everybody knows that.
I apologize.
Yeah, no, you should. The fact that you didn't know that is it's mean. All right, you know what?
Sitting here wearing a Buckeye hoodie and didn't realize that. God, I'm a piece of shit.
Give me the Lions +3 now. Now that I wasn't going to play the Lions, but now that you just disrespected Jeff Okuda, we're going to take the Lions +3 on the road against the Giants.
I like that.
I will, man. So I want to play one more, and I want to play the Vikings at home +1.5 against Dallas, which is an interesting line.
That is an interesting line.
Be +1.5 is very interesting. I feel like the Ravens are overvalued, to be honest with you.
A lot of people hyping them up right now.
Like, I feel like they're so like for me, 13-point spread against the Panthers, and I know the Panthers are bad.
They got Baker starting this week. They're going to be real good.
But why do the Ravens think they're? I don't know why the league thinks the Ravens are so great. They've been fine. They've been good. Lamar's great. But sometimes they're just great, not good.
They've been okay.
I don't want to say he's been great. His fourth quarter efficiency is embarrassing. It's terrible.
And they beat the Saints. Really, they destroyed the Saints, but the Saints haven't been good.
Sure.
Are you staying away from? Are we going with the Cards, Niners? Are you going to throw in a fourth one, or are you sticking with those 3?
Nope. I'm going to stay with 3.
Perfect. Bears +3, Lions +3, Vikes +1.5, which is a weird line, but I dig it. Those are Ward's wagers. I like it. Let's go 3-0 this week. And I'm surprised you're not going with your big Pac-12 after dark. Nothing there. You're not going Washington State, anything like that. But okay, we're good with that, brother. Anything else you want to talk about before we get out of here tonight?
I don't know, man. I don't think so. I think we covered, brother.
If you redrafted the 2021 draft, would it be? What year is it? Would you take Trevor Lawrence number 1, or would you take Justin Fields number 1 based on what you've seen so far?
I would take Trevor Lawrence.
Same. I love Justin Fields. I still think he's the second best quarterback in that draft. And I thought he was pretty close to Trevor Lawrence. And he's had a great few weeks, but we do have to pump the brakes a little bit. Trust me,
Trevor Lawrence,
my fantasy team has absolutely loved having him. But let's pump the brakes a little bit on that.
Just fine.
I think so as well. I think he's going to be a solid quarterback. Maybe nothing super special. He's not going to be Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, but he'll be pretty good. And with that, let's get out of here. All right, we'll say goodbye for tonight. We'll be back sometime. I don't know. We might be back next Wednesday. We might not be. But we'll see you in at least a couple weeks. If we don't see you, have a good Thanksgiving. Have a good holiday.
Yeah.
We got 3 games. Yeah. Drew's birthday,
Lions,
so don't
Bills.
forget to wish Drew happy birthday. Actually, Detroit Dave 7. Your birthday is Thanksgiving this year, right?
Yeah.
All right.
We got the Thanksgiving one this year. But
Nice.
yeah, Lions, Bills, everybody's been waiting all year to see this matchup. So happy Thanksgiving. You're welcome to the Lions for letting you take a nap at the half.
What's our other game? We got Giants, Cowboys, and then we got a nightcap, and I can't remember what it is. Either way, if we don't see you next week, we'll see you again soon. But remember, as always, if you live a life you love a life you live. Night, kids.